Alright, so this is a speed up of me actually going through the modelling process for this vehicle. I'm basically going through and cutting out the individual doorways on the back part of the van and using P to separate from selection. You'll see all the keyboard shortcuts flash up on the screen, but in essence that's what I'm doing. The modelling process is basically me repeating the same thing for the doors again and again and again, cleaning up the mesh and the models and that sort of stuff, and then basically creating simplified doors. So running through that process really succinctly. And you don't want to see me do this, 8 times or however many times I had to do it. Each door is given a couple of ring cuts. There is a little bit of variation on that actually, which is this door just here, which is, it's a set of double doors. I didn't bother separating them, I just applied it to the same one and then cut down the middle to separate out the two doors. But returning to that process, once I'd done the series of ring cuts into the surface to mark out the hole for the door handle, I extruded it back a little bit to create a cavity. I then basically flipped over to doing edge selecting and go around the outside of the rest of the door and extruded that back so it would cover over the cavity hole for the handle, but stretch back further so that I could actually create a sort of door with a space inside and that sort of stuff. Once that was done, I faced off that back edge, so it was just creating it sealed, and then went through and selected all the corners and beveled all the corners. I also then moved on to beveling the internal corners of the door handle space. That way it's just to sort of soften the edges a little bit and that sort of stuff. I probably should have beveled the outer edges, but by this stage it's only a quick and dirty model. It's not been meant to be used at close range, so I'm keeping it fairly simple in that regard. So that was the basic process that I went and applied to all the doors. The only variation is one that's coming up shortly, but even with this door here, because it's got the glass window in it. So what I did is, instead of like in the previous example I gave, I actually moved the vertices to create an edge. I actually just went through and beveled this by eye. So I looked at it there closely, beveled it by eye, looks about right, yeah, good enough for me. And then I did the same to all the handles and that sort of stuff, the handles on the outside of the door. And as I'm going through, I'm hiding them so these things don't distract me. This final 2 panels, I actually separated the top and bottom halves so I could focus on one bit and that sort of stuff. And by this stage, you're breaking down the panels nice and easily and that sort of stuff. And that's pretty much me done. It's not much to it. It's just again and again and again, which is a great practice technique because you need to practice these skills.